the last presentation.
All right, Rick. Thanks. Good morning. My name's Rick Johnson. I'm a faculty member in the College of Business. It has been my pleasure this semester to serve as the mentor for the Bloomberg BNA group. Their clients, specifically at Bloomberg BNA, are Paul Abergo, who's the bureau chief, and Joe Abreda, who is the, get this right, executive vice president of products. I'll come back to them in a minute. For those of you that don't know, Bloomberg BNA is a division or subsidiary of the Bloomberg. And what they do is provide legal, tax, financial, and industry information to professionals to aid them basically in running their businesses and making decisions and the like. They have approximately 2,500 reporters that they use, and along with industry professionals who write these official analyst reports, and then those are distributed to their clients for different usages. One of the things that Bloomberg has noticed over the years, or since they've been doing this, is that their system of redistributing these professional articles is not as efficient as it could be. So what Paul and Joe did was to basically task the team with giving a close eye or close look at the redistribution process and figuring out how to modify it to make it more efficient. Specifically, how to leverage all the resources that they have towards this project. Basically, how to monetize it and how to simplify the distribution of the information. So that was the challenge that Joe and Paul basically gave them, was to reevaluate this. An ancillary part of the challenge was to also look at retention of customers and potentially how to maintain customer loyalty. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to the team and let them go ahead and tell their story. And the button has been pushed.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. And thank you to Paul and Joe, who helped us throughout this process. And good morning, everyone. We are the Bloomberg BNA team, and we're very excited to present to you today our project about content licensing and redistribution. My name's Elise Watson. I'm a second-year MBA student and Master's of Journalism student with an emphasis in strategic communication.
My name's Jack Thornton. I'm a second-year MBA student concentrating in finance.
My name is Daria, and I'm a second-year graduate student majoring in multimedia storytelling and data journalism.
I'm Fu, first-year MBA student, emphasis in finance.
So to begin today, we wanted to dive a little deeper into the challenge that was proposed to us by the Bloomberg BNA team, or as you'll hear us call it throughout the presentation, BBNA. So to begin with, one of the main crucial components was to look at their current redistribution process, which is primarily ad hoc and completely customized, and look how to better improve that system and if it was even possible with the nature of their redistribution. Additionally, they wanted to see how this would be implemented and how they could monetize more of the redistribution requests that they were having come in. And then finally, looking about how redistribution was really going to improve their existing customer experience with their platform currently. So when looking at this, we wanted to identify other media companies of similar nature who currently have a strong redistribution process, look at the current market research to see how the industry is trending, suggest a customer loyalty component to see how this service is really going to help improve the retention rate of their current customers. And then finally, identify potential concerns and implications that come along with any project. So to give you a better understanding of how Bloomberg BNA fits into the larger Bloomberg structure, they were actually acquired by Bloomberg in 2011. So it's a fairly new addition to their brand name, but one that we think has been very beneficial to the reputation. And so Bloomberg BNA, or Bloomberg Law, which was the primary platform we were investigating throughout this process, fits in under their industry products sector. And now to give you a better understanding of what Bloomberg BNA's current content redistribution process looks like, Bloomberg BNA's employee, a singular employee in their library services department, handles all the redistribution requests. All of them are customized, and that's everything down from how it is actually distributed to the pricing. So it's a fairly costly and timely process. From there, they provide actionable content for their customers, which is then redistributed to the customers of their customers. However, because this is so timely and a very difficult process, we thought it would be beneficial to take it out of the hands of the Bloomberg BNA employee and implement a third-party software system that allows this content to be accessed at any point of the day. Redistributed requests come in automatically 24/7, which is really crucial for these industry professionals who are working at all hours of the night. So with any project, as I mentioned before, there are concerns. One that was a major concern for BBNA was if this was going to cannibalize their potential new customers who are receiving this content without having to pay for it. Another one was their paywall security is crucial to the value of their proprietary content. So as this is loosened, how is this going to impact their valued content? And then finally, valuing the redistribution. Because all the pricing is customized, it's a little difficult to be able to set a standard when their client base is such a wide variety of different people. So we thought with every one of these concerns, though, they could be overcome by these following things. Where is the content going and how is it being redistributed? On these third-party softwares, they are able to see how many times it's being redistributed and in what formats. Is it by email? Is it being printed for a conference? So they're able to still maintain a strong hold on the content without having to actually monitor each redistribution request. And then finally, in order to value this content, it's crucial to be able to implement a strong marketing on their website specifically so that their customers are aware of this service. Bloomberg BNA is one of three, and specifically Bloomberg Law is one of three competitors in this segment. So Westlaw and LexisNexis, which were established prior to BBNA, are their two main competitors. As you see here, they have very specific pricing breakdowns and subscription levels to be able to customize based on their customers' needs. LexisNexis offers flexible pricing abilities through its transactional or flat rates, so they can do a subscription or they can just pay per search. Whereas Westlaw has a variety of different subscription levels from Essentials to Premier Plus, which offers, of course, more resources. But one thing to really keep in mind for both of these options is that they actually have a more systemized redistribution process. Westlaw has PARS International, which is another third-party software implemented on their site, and LexisNexis actually has their own publishing service which customizes each of its content redistributions. And now I'm going to pass it off to Jack for proposed solutions.
Thank you, Elise. Let's say a BBNA customer, who are made up mostly of law firms, accounting firms, and corporations, reads a BBNA publication and decides they want to redistribute that publication to their clients. Perhaps the publication talked favorably about one of their associates. Perhaps the subject matter was relevant to the firm or company's clients. Before I dive into our proposed solutions, I first wanted to look at what the current system at BBNA looks at when a customer of theirs has such a request. The first step in the process is the customer has to go to the BBNA homepage, and they have to scroll all the way to the bottom of the page and click on the Contact Us link. And from there, the customer is forwarded to this page, and once again, he or she has to weed through a multitude of links and click on the next link, which is Copyright Permission Request. And eventually, the client is led to this form. The client has to completely fill it out. And once it's filled out and the client clicks Submit, the form is forwarded to BBNA's Knowledge Services Department, which currently is a department of one. Now, the point of this exercise is that the current process is cumbersome, informal, and it's certainly not something a lawyer, accountant, or any other busy business professional has a time or desire to go through. So this is essentially the problem that Paul and Joe, our BBNA contacts, posed to us. They tasked us to find a better model, both for BBNA in terms of additional revenue dollars and for the customer in terms of an improved user experience. And we looked at a number of companies who have existing redistribution models, and it seemed that all the companies that we looked at used at least one of these three models here. The three models that we had identified are the Morningstar model, named after the Chicago-based investment research firm Morningstar Incorporated, the New York Times model, and the Dow Jones model, the publisher of the Wall Street Journal. The distinguishing feature of the Morningstar model is that the redistribution services are performed completely in-house, which is similar to BBNA, but in contrast, Morningstar markets their redistribution services very heavily to their client base, which is something that BBNA currently doesn't do at all. The New York Times model, the distinguishing feature is that, as Elise mentioned, the services are completely outsourced to a third-party redistribution firm called PARS International. This company, which handles the redistribution services for BBNA's main competitor, Westlaw, provides redistribution expertise. And as Dario will mention in just a moment, the cost to BBNA for engaging their services is essentially zero. And the third model is the Dow Jones model. The distinguishing feature is that it's a hybrid of the previous two models. They partly perform their redistribution services in-house, and they partly outsource. Of these three models, we believe that the best model for BBNA to implement is the Dow Jones model. And let me give you just a quick example of how this works. So after clicking on an icon next to the article with which the customer wants to redistribute, the customer is forwarded to this third-party website called Rights Link, which is run by the Copyright Clearance Center. And the first step of the process is simply to input how the customer wants the publication to be redistributed via email, print newsletter, link posted on the firm's website, etc. The second step, and this is all from the same page, is to input the number of publications the client wants to redistribute to their clients, assuming they want to redistribute via email or print newsletter. The third and final step is simply to click the quick price button, and the customer immediately is presented with a price quote for how much that would cost. Dow Jones uses this model, and they receive 5,000 redistribution requests annually. And this system contributes $5 million to their top line on an annual basis. And this is part of the reasons why we believe that Dow Jones or BBNA should implement this model. So when put side by side, each model has their individual merits, but it's clear to us that the pros of the Dow Jones model outweigh the pros of the other. And this is why we believe that the BBNA should implement this model to improve their redistribution services. And now I'll hand it over to Dario, who will talk more about the quantitative aspect of the models.
Thank you, Jack. So first off, a Bloomberg Law is a niche publication, and therefore 40% of their clients are law firms, followed by tax firms like Ernst & Young, Deloitte, and corporations like Toyota America, and even government agencies like the Labor Statistics Bureau. And for me as a journalist, as we're doing this case study, kind of like an aha moment was that the mainstream media already taking a full advantage of reprint distribution, and they're actually making huge money. So we're looking at media organizations like Mashable, or magazines like Wired or GQ. And as we looked at Bloomberg BNA, we did recognize this window of opportunity for making this extra cash. As we did our case study, we specifically looked at the Dow Jones reprint solutions. And this is a valuable example because it provides all this pricing information open to the public. So the Rights Link calculator that Jack was able to walk you through actually generates all these pricing quotes, and all that information is available in a PDF format in a spreadsheet. And we're actually able to use this information to kind of like estimate the total value of the content that BBNA is currently giving out for free. So there are multiple reprint solutions available to customers. So for $1,300, you can order 500 copies of this customized reprint, and it actually has this logo like on the front page. And you can go out to a conference and distribute this article to the participants. Or another option, you can take an HTML link and like post it on your website, keep it on your website for a year, and it'll cost you about $2,000. Or a cheaper version would be to redistribute that same article by email, And it will go out at a minimum of like 500 recipients, and it will cost only $635. So bringing it to a full circle, let's evaluate the total bundle, the value of the total bundle, which includes all the three redistribution options, print, digital, and email. So the total value comes to $4,000. Yes, indeed, it's $4,000 per article. So having this said, I kind of like want you to think how much money Bloomberg BBNA could potentially make if they currently handle about 700 requests a year. So this is the money that's being left out currently on the table. So if we run our rough estimates and calculate that those 700 requests come from emails, so it's like $635 multiplied by 700. So we come to a total of like $450,000. But if we calculate that all those 700 requests will come to a total of like purchasing the entire bundle of $4,000, so the total will be $2.7 million. So the profit, the revenue that they're currently missing falls somewhere in the range between $450,000 to $2.7 million. So with this being said, I'm going to hand it off to Elise, who's going to talk about how BBNA could potentially reward its long-term high-paying customers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daria. So as we mentioned early on in the presentation, customer loyalty and customer retention is a key part of Bloomberg BNA's success. They currently have about a 94% retention rate, which means only 6% of their customers are leaving each year, which is remarkable by anybody's standards. However, one of their biggest expenses is the loss of customers and the acquiring of customers because they have a very extensive sales force. So what can we do through this service to make sure that those 6% are staying with Bloomberg BNA? So as you mentioned, or as you saw in the Westlaw model, they had several different tiers of their subscriptions. So we suggested that Bloomberg BNA divide their subscriptions into tiered levels and then give them benefits based on their contributions to the organization. So to begin with, we have the gold level client, and these are clients who are spending up to $200,000 per year on their subscription. So what we suggested that they do is, with the increase in their subscription price per year, they also give them some benefits of redistribution by email so that they can not only experience this new third-party system, but be able to get some extra articles. So we suggested about 12 articles per year by email to about 500 people with a value of about $7,600 based on the Dow Jones pricing model. Now, 12 articles per year may not sound like a lot, but when you're thinking about it from a newsletter perspective, going out one per month to a large amount of their clientele seems pretty reasonable. Similarly, on the silver level client, between $100,000 to $200,000, they get 6 articles per year by email, which is about a value of about just under $4,000, so a newsletter going out every 2 months. Whereas the bronze level clients, who are likely smaller firms, would get 4 articles per year, or approximately a newsletter going out every quarter with a value of about $2,500. Now this leaves us with a lot of subscribers who are under that $50,000 threshold. So what we suggested is, with this new platform, give them each a free trial so they can see the benefits of this new third-party system, and then from there just fulfill the request on a per request basis so that it's at least more simplified and it's more likely that they'll need less customized options. Now, none of this is even important if they don't market this well. So what we suggested is this, as this third party was implemented, they build a strong landing page or microsite that clearly outlines how this process works and what is there offered to their clients. So in addition to this, it's really important, because their sales force is so crucial to the acquiring of the new customers, that they implement this in their sales calls. And then finally, just make sure there's a list of how they can reprint this through print, digital, and on a rare basis, customized. And now I'm going to pass it off to Fu for the financial analysis.
So we analyzed the financial analysis of the project that we are going to launch. Introducing our new tier program, we estimate that 50% gonna go to the ivory level and 30% go to bronze level, while our top tiers, gold and silver level, gonna be 15% and 5% respectively. We, based on the market share and the market and the revenue from the industry, we estimated that BBNA last year they have about 5,000 customer base, and our calculation based on the early adopter in the first year going to be 1.5%. How did we come up with the number? We break it down the profile of the customer from BBNA, and we estimated that a frequent customer will have about 6 requests per year. And with 100 profitable requests last year, BBNA only make the profit on 0.3% of their customer base. This is a really small percentage. Given that 0.3% of customer they are making the profit right now, they managed to have 7-figure revenue on last year, which means that they are making a huge profit on such a small amount of customer. And if we could boost our customer adoption rate, we could come up with a higher revenue. Just look at the Dow Jones and the New York Times. So we estimated our revenue for the next 5 years for email, web, and reprint version. So each year it's going to be about 2 million revenue. To implement the cost, we will bear some costs like implementation for the rice link, and on top of that we have to pay the annual fee, which is roughly about $50,000, and particularly we need to pay 15% of our revenue for the third-party service. However, we could tremendously reduce our labor costs since we simplify our reprint procedure. So we estimated our revenue and the cost, and we come up with the profit after tax about $1 million per year, and keep that projected growth at a growth rate at 3%. Our project value will be amount to about $22 million. So we anticipated that there's some uncertainty could happen in the market. So we do the simulation for the adoption rate, for the growth rate, and even the expenditure to implement our project. So we still comes up with the project NPV about 17 million to 27 million. And when we analyze the factor that affect our project NPV model, we believe that the most important factor is customer adoption rate. That's when our marketing plan that really play a really important role to boost the customer adoption rate. I will pass over to Jack.
In conclusion, these are the problems that we came up with, the goals, and the solutions are at the bottom. It is our contention that if BBNA adopts these solutions, it'll navigate them to a brighter future. Thank you for your time, and we'll now open the floor to any questions you have.
I was curious how you validated those bundles, those packages. Is that just kind of what made sense? Is that what your competitors are doing? Did you talk to some of those customers, the gold level thing?
I'm sorry.
How did you validate those kind of packages or groupings?
You mean how did we figure out the different subscription levels?
Yeah.
We did that through talking with Paul and Joe. So we, of course, had to approximate it because they don't have a tiered system in place at this current point. Here, I'll turn my mic. But currently, their customer base varies a great deal in their subscription levels. So, of course, the highest benefit has to come to those higher level subscribers, and hope at incentivizing those lower level subscribers to boosting up because of the benefits that come along with the greater subscription prices.
Ask one more? Okay, so kind of related to that, I guess, I think it makes sense, like you talked about, they can lean on their existing sales team and they haven't really tried to push this. But are there people who are like, are those law firms, are they searching, so-and-so article? Like, do they have those kind of opportunities for just direct kind of SEO marketing, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so BBNA received 700 requests to redistribute last year. So there is existing demand, and this is with the status quo system. So we believe if they implement the Dow Jones model, the demand will increase, markedly. But we talked to Covington Burling, excuse me. It's a DC-based firm where former Attorney General Eric Holder works. we talked with their director of public relations, and he really saw value in adopting a better model, both in terms of, a lot of their attorneys write articles for BBNA, but also he saw value in that, sometimes the subject matter is very relevant to their customers, and it'll just be more efficient for them to repackage the BBNA content and distribute it. So, yeah, our market research did show indication that there was definitely value in this.
I really like the idea of getting it out and using that third-party system, because what you described was horrible, absolutely horrible. But I didn't hear the MU model. You guys keep talking about the Dow Jones model. And so where's the creativity and what your model would have been? Is there a redistribution through, I don't know, Lexus or texting or whatever? I guess I'm curious, did you give some thought to something outside the box?
To be honest, at this current point, we were just looking into how these softwares had been previously used in a way that is similar in structure to another industry example. But I do think that there are opportunities to be able to give more real-time content. Something we talked about really early on in the process is maybe some of these customers would be able to distribute a line or two via text message to their other clients so that they could get a blurb of what is happening in the industry to date, and be able to get that content real time, especially when oftentimes people are influxed with a bunch of emails and maybe don't have time to read that newsletter. But once again, you come across that issue of the paywall security and devaluing the content. So it's a very gray area once you start kind of reaching over to different creative formats.
And we also looked into the idea of how Bloomberg BNA could capitalize on the data sets that they generate in real time. So we looked specifically at the Morningstar model that sells those, provides authorized access to those data sets that people can actually generate those numbers and use them in their stories. And the price tag on those data sets is about $4,200. So there's another sort of avenue for making extra profit.
I like the idea of giving something away to your existing customers to get them kind of hooked on this idea. Is that, does this model also then do the analytics for the customer, so that if I'm a lawyer, it would tell me, hey, Scott, you sent this out, and 10% of your folks clicked on it, or are you also offering that service, or would the customer have some way to track those types of analytics on opens and...
I did not see anything in the software that would specifically track it, because it does become inherently outsourced through the client themselves. So the RightsLink system allows for that licensing aspect of it so that BBNA knows how that content is being redistributed. But from there, my understanding is that the platform itself of RightsLink does not distribute that content for them. Therefore, the analytics are not through that platform.
Yeah, and as a follow-up, when we visited BBNA in DC a couple weeks ago, they really liked the idea of RightsLink, and one of their executives proposed the idea of just having a trial period where they implement it, put that link next to the article, it's right in the same place where the Facebook print, link icons are, and just experimenting with that. And he did mention, he did indicate somewhat that, they should track it to see, what the success rate is.
So then BBNA would actually be able to see their analytics from their side in a very systemized process, but for the actual clients at BBNA, they don't receive that same analytic success, if that makes sense.
Before we actually set our hearts on RightsLink, we did evaluate other options on the market. We did talk to Brian Cobb, the operating chief of RightsLink, Rights Media, which is kind of like another third-party software. But the difference between RightsLink and Rights Media is that Rights Media charges a 40% royalty fee. So when it applies to Bloomberg BNA, and given the fact that their contracts for redistribution range start at $10,000, so it means that you'll be giving out those $4,000 just in royalty fees. So it's it'll be a lot cheaper to implement RightsLink, and although there are some implementation costs, but they're pretty much minuscule compared to those long-term costs that you end up paying. Because with RightsLink, the royalty fee is only 15%.
You made reference to the 6% attrition. So that's your big obstacle is how you can get people to move off what they had, because if it's working, it's really tough. So how are you going to get people to move away from something else?
Currently, BB&A came into this competitive landscape as the third option. So luckily, as they were acquired by Bloomberg, their brand value increased. And now they are actually looked at as one of the top proprietary contents in this field. However, with that comes a cost. And so I think based on our conversations with BB&A engagement reps and of course with their executives, the biggest factor that comes into play is their cost. People, in the current economy, lawyers can't really necessarily afford $200,000 subscriptions, even though this content is extraordinarily valuable. However, if we're able to implement a benefit system or a value system, the hope is that these customers would feel valued themselves, like BB&A appreciates their service, and they're able to get more out of this content beyond just navigating a very extensive database.
Yeah, and as a follow-up, BNA was formed in 1929. Bloomberg acquired BNA in 2011, so the BBNA brand is new, and Bloomberg has much more brand equity than BNA by itself. And we think there's a lot of potential there. If you look at the Morningstar model, a lot of investment firms, they want to redistribute Morningstar content because of the Morningstar brand. The management really was attracted to that idea when we presented to them of growing the Bloomberg BNA brand, because Bloomberg is known for, BNA is known for their content and litigation content distribution, but also Bloomberg is known for their analytics, mainly in finance, but they're expanding into litigation as well. So we think there's really opportunity for them to expand that brand.
And in our tier model, we did give out some free redistribution article per year for the customer. So we will roughly evaluate the amount that we give them every year to justify the increase in subscription costs, so that we could show them that we actually added the value and they don't oppose to our cost subscription increase.
Because every year the subscription price goes up by 5%. So if we're giving out those reprints by email, so that will be sort of like the value of the increased subscription price.
Okay, thank you very much. We should have the results here in just a few minutes. Class, I got for you Francesco Marconi's new book. It just came out. And so as a thank you for participating in this class, and also hopefully a way to launch your careers going forward, we're giving you this book as a gift of being in the class. It's called Live Like Fiction, 30 Days to Become the Author of Your Own Life Story. So we have these down here for each of you. Be sure to pick one up before you leave. And thanks for